All right. Well, welcome, Whitesboro, to another edition of Life in the Borough. I am your host, Ben Edwards. Thanks again for joining us. Today we have a very special guest, owner of a very popular local establishment. We have with us today the owner of House of Brews. Please welcome to the program, Chris Jefferson. Thanks for being here, man.
You're welcome. Thanks for the invitation.
Absolutely. This is exciting. I think that before the end of today, we're going to realize that you and I have a lot more in common than you might think.
Okay.
We'll see. I always go through and stalk all my guests on social media to make sure that I know everything there is to know about them, or at least everything that they want to be public. And you're going to be surprised. You're going to be very surprised. Let's start at the beginning. How long have you been in Whitesboro?
July will be 25 years.
25
so we moved
years.
Here in 2000. Yep, July of 2000.
Do you live in town?
No, we live up north of town.
Okay.
Up off of Bones Chapel.
Okay. Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah. The infamous Bones Chapel.
Have you seen any improvement?
Absolutely.
Yeah?
I'm thrilled. A lot of people don't know this, but every time I would turn to go home from 377 to Bones Chapel, I would have a slight anxiety attack because I have been hit there.
Your daily quick prayer?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. My quick glance into the rearview mirror to make sure nobody's going to come down and hit me again.
I bet.
This would have been 12, 13 years ago. In fact, my wife, Rachel, used to have, I think it was a 1998 Suburban. Big red, we called it the big red bus,
right?
Because she hauled all the kids around, not just ours, but all the kids. And you know, when our boys were in Little League, we'd travel in it. And I had gone to Dallas that morning. Actually, I drove to Plano, and then with a couple of guys I work with, we went to a paramedic conference downtown Dallas, and we caught the DART rail down, and that was my brother's birthday weekend. So we were going to meet at my parents' house up at Buncombe Creek for the party that evening.
Okay.
But I had to go down to downtown Dallas that morning, left early, came home, was headed home in the Suburban, and I was waiting northbound on 377 to turn on to Bones Chapel, waiting for traffic to clear, and I looked in my rearview mirror, and I saw a little Ford Colorado up at the top of the hill coming down. I'm like, I got plenty of time. Then traffic cleared. I was getting ready to turn. I gave one more glance in the mirror, and I looked, and I just realized she's not gonna, and then boom, she plowed right into the back of me. And it hit me hard enough to where it spun me around across oncoming traffic onto Bones Chapel, and I ended up facing 377 like I was getting ready to turn.
Oh, wow.
Broke the seat. When
All
I
the way
came to a
around.
stop, I was looking up at the ceiling. And, of course, being a paramedic, first thing I did, I wiggle my fingers, reach up, I grab my neck. I'm feeling, okay, my toes work, my fingers work. Didn't go unconscious. I think I'm okay. So I try to sit up, and I can't even sit up because it's just stretched every muscle out in the front side of my body. So I grab the steering wheel and pull myself up, and I look across. The first thing I see is, I'm pointing back at 377. I see her pickup on the other side of the road just smashed. And I'm like, oh, no. I get out, and I walk over there, and she's out of it. Just, she's still at the driver's seat, and first thing I do is reach up and I grab her head and I stabilize her neck, and I'm sitting there trying to get her attention. Ma'am, are you okay? Ma'am, are you okay? And about that time, a lady walks up and she says, I'm a nurse. I'll check on this lady. You go check on the other guy. And I'm like, I am the other guy. And she goes, oh my God, go sit down. So
is the traffic? Everybody stopped at this point. Everybody's.
Oh yeah, traffic had stopped at that point because we had there's debris everywhere.
You say how long ago was that? You say
probably about 12 years ago. Yeah.
How many wrecks have you seen there?
Well, I know 4 people in my neighborhood that have been hit there, and one of them's been hit twice.
This is unbelievable.
So, and then just over the last, over the last year or so, how many people have been hit or killed there?
Yeah.
So, I've been wanting something done there forever. Now, did they go about it in the most optimum way? I think they could have done it a little better. Mm-hmm. I like the turn lane. The turn lane has just given me a lot of mental relief,
Sure.
know. But I don't like that there's not a shoulder there now.
Yeah, that's the big complaint.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Especially as you get up into town and the people with mailboxes and stuff there's no shoulder for the mail carriers or whatever. So, is it optimum? No. Is it better than nothing? Yes. And absolutely.
Yeah. And it's going to be a while until this area gets a ton more traffic. It's going to be
which it's coming.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, lower priority for now, unfortunately, but at least if nothing else, there's a recognition that there's an issue.
Yes.
And some kind of mitigation is better than none. But you would like to have had an ideal situation.
Yeah.
But you're not now, so you said you've been here how long?
Almost 25 years.
25 years.
24 and a half. Yeah.
Have you been in the same
house? Yeah.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
But you're originally from Moore, is that right? Moore, Oklahoma?
Yep. I tell people it's the town that God likes to wipe off the map and let them start over every so often.
Yeah, that's what I was going to ask you. I saw that and I thought, I wonder if he's was up there during the. But I mean, do you have family in that area still?
Yeah. Yep.
Was they affected by the storm? I guess.
So the biggest one, I think, in May of
like 11.
Was it? Yeah, 11.
Yeah.
That one, I had my grandmother lived on the kind of the border of Moore and Oklahoma City. She's Oklahoma City, but right on the edge.
Sure.
And then my aunt lived on the south side of Moore, and then I had a cousin that lived out on the west end of Moore. Her dad called her and told her to take shelter, and she climbed under the stairs of her apartment, and that stairwell was the only thing left of her apartment complex. And when it landed on the west end of Moore and just cut that mile wide swath right through town, and it like split my grandma and my aunt. And then my great aunt, my grandma's sister, lives out on the east side of Moore, far east off of Sooner Road. And when the tornado lifted up, it just dumped all that stuff out. And we went, my brothers and I, my mom and dad went up there and helped her clean up because it just dumped it all in her yard.
It's an incredible thing to see. Seeing what happened in Sherwood Shores a couple of years ago.
Oh yeah,
but
I went up there for that too. So that was wild. Yeah,
that was
in fact all hands that tornado on deck. That tornado after it hit Sherwood Shores and went across the lake, it missed my parents' house by about 100 yards.
Oh wow!
Because they live up at Buncombe Creek on the east side over by the marina.
Okay.
And it crossed right there by just north of the marina and missed their little neighborhood. It tore up a lot of stuff, but, my mom, another funny story. My dad at the time worked for the Choctaw tribe in Durant, and he was on his way home, and, there was a storm chaser. I can't remember the chaser's name, but he had been following this particular storm since like Decatur or wherever, but, you can find it on YouTube. There's this video of him chasing that storm after after it hit Buncombe, and then he follows it all the way up through Kingston.
Okay.
Well, my dad's saying he knew there was a storm coming, and he's on his way home from work, and he stops at the Sonic in Kingston to get his corn dog and his glass of tea, right? So he's sitting there parked at the Sonic, and he said he heard the tornado sirens go off. And he said he'd already given his order. And he said when the sirens went off, all the kids in Sonic jumped in their cars and took off. And he goes, I guess I'm not going to get my corn dog. So then the storm chaser's coming through town, and he sees my dad. You can see it on his page. My dad's pulling out of the Sonic as he's driving by. And like half a mile up the road, there's where that tornado crossed the highway.
Oh, wow. That's a close call.
Yeah.
That was a close call.
Yeah, he didn't even know.
Yeah, when you see until you see it, until you've actually driven through the aftermath of a massive tornado, you don't really get it. I got to go up to Moore for an event. It was like a charity event to raise money to help rebuild. Maybe 3 weeks afterwards.
Yeah,
and they had already done a ton of stuff in the 3 weeks, but even just seeing that, it was just unbelievable. I mean, you just drive for 5 straight minutes, and it's just nothing.
It's There, an atomic, you say an atomic bomb could have gone off, and that's the only thing you can compare it to because everything's down to the foundations. There's no houses left. There's no trees. There's some tree trunks left and nothing, no limbs or no nothing anywhere. And it was just devastation. And I remember when we got up into Moore, there between 19th and 4th, there's a little neighborhood right on the highway on the east side of the road. And I mean, half the kids I grew up with were from that neighborhood. You know, I went to school with all these kids and their families, and that neighborhood was just leveled, and it just took the breath out of me.
It's but now you're a fireman.
Yeah.
In Plano, correct? How long have you been in Plano?
June will be 30 years.
30 years.
30 freaking years.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's
a long time to do anything.
How much longer do you have?
I don't know. I joke around with the guys at work. I say, hey, I'm one bad day from just walking downtown when my papers already haven't filled out.
Now, Plano is my wife grew up in Plano, went to Plano Senior High. My in-laws still live there. Mm-hmm. And we've been married nearly 20 years. And just in the time that I've been, because I grew up in Arlington, I never went to Plano.
Yeah.
No reason to.
Yeah.
But, you know, once I met her, I was in Plano all the time. And now the grandparents live there, right?
Yeah.
So I've seen it over the last 20 years and how much it's changed and how much it's grown. And, but 30 years ago, that's about the time that that family, my wife's family moved there. That's an incredible change. And if you're...
It's unrecognizable from that time period.
You've got to be able to adapt in the entire fire service has to adapt to the size difference, the change.
Yep.
The type of issues that you deal with become different, I'm sure, over time.
Yeah.
How has the growth in that neighborhood or that whole town affected your job? How has it changed over the years because of that?
Well, the job itself is the same. People are still getting hurt. People still get sick. Mm-hmm. Things catch on fire. People run into each other in their vehicles. I'll say, actually, we were having this conversation at the station yesterday. I worked yesterday, and the captain at my station and I we've worked together for a long time. And I said, you know what's really concerning is not necessarily the how critical the calls are that we're going. It's how non-critical they are. Just the I've fallen and I can't get us up, you know, and we've seen the health of the community decline and their inability to take care of themselves. And that's not just the elderly and infirm. It's the average age adult who has no clue how to turn the water off in their house if they get a leak, you know, or what natural gas smells like if there's a leak in their house, or if there's an odd smell in their house, or, you know, just what I would consider just a minor inconvenience.
Right.
Has become, you know, a life-changing emergency to people that they call 911 for. And I'm not complaining. It's just,
sure.
it is concerning though, that we have so many homeowners that don't know how the basic operations of a house work.
Right.
So, and for so long, people have been taught, oh, if there's an emergency, call 911, call 911,
right.
call 911.
They just don't know what an emergency is.
They just don't know what an emergency is anymore. Or, you know, that things that may be an emergency, but not such a major emergency that they couldn't handle it themselves if they just had a minor amount of knowledge, you know.
Everybody has access to YouTube. Why can't they just get on there?
Right.
My brother was a 30-year firefighter.
Well, to be fair, when your house is flooding out because your toilet's leaking, it's not time to go look on YouTube. Right. You should look on YouTube and learn how to do this stuff before it happens.
Yeah. Yeah, my brother is I think he was 25, 30 years with Lancaster Fire Department, and he would tell stories very much like that. Somebody can't find their medicine, and they don't sit somewhere in the house, and they'll call 911 and have you come find their medicine for them.
Yeah,
it's
like
a different time.
We had a call the other day. A lady called because she smelled smoke. And we're like, we get there. Is it in your house? No. Where is it? Well, when I walk out on the back porch, I smell it. I'm like, and we get out there, it's like, you mean all of the people around you that have fires going in their fireplace?
Yeah.
That smell? Yeah, that smell. I've never smelled that before.
It's cold outside, lady.
Yes. So, but again, to be fair, the way big events are sensationalized in the news, especially with California and all that, people are on edge.
Sure.
And that's another thing that I've noticed lately that's different than when I hired in is there's just this constant tension just below the surface, and everybody is so on edge and so nervous and so just like ready to snap,
Yeah.
and everybody just needs to take a breath and just go, look, it's okay.
It does feel like everything's sensationalized. That we see the extremes because that's what the interesting stuff is on the news and the media.
Yeah.
And then we assume that extreme is reflected everywhere in our lives. And
Yeah.
how many times do you hear about crazy events that happen? The New Orleans thing where the car explodes. You hear about this stuff because it happens once every day somewhere in America.
Right.
But what are the odds it happens in your town?
Yeah, exactly.
Almost nil,
Right. And it doesn't mean you shouldn't be prepared for it.
Sure.
It's like I talk to my kids and my family. I'm like, look, odds of something catastrophic happening are low. It's that, what do they call it? The low incident, high impact event.
Sure. Yeah.
That people want to be prepared for, but it's those high occurrence, low impact events that seem to throw people into a tailspin. The city planners of Plano did a really fantastic job laying out that city. It's easy to get anywhere. Used to, traffic was not a problem. Traffic is becoming a problem,
Right.
because all of the people moving north.
Yes. Absolutely.
And but there's not much you can do about that. People are going to go where they want to go. All you can do is prepare for it. And I think for the longest time, Plano was very well prepared for the growth that they had predicted.
What area of town do you usually work in?
East side.
Okay.
Yeah. My first 12 years in Plano, I was at Fire Station 1 right on Avenue K on the east side of town. Then I spent another 10 or so up at Station 10 up on the far north side by Russell Creek Park. And then I'm back. I spent a couple of years at Station 7 over by Legacy, the shops of Legacy, that area,
Right.
the old not HEB, what's it called? HP headquarters.
Right.
But I've been there long enough. I remember when it was EDS. So
Yeah.
Ross Perot's place.
Sure.
And when you drive that area, it used to be the only thing you could see. You could see that EDS campus from I-35. It was that big. But when I got there was always this rumor about there being a bunker underneath that, like a fallout shelter
Right.
underneath of that campus that would fit all of the employees and their families for that EDS campus. So, and Ross Pro, that electronic data systems they handled a lot of data for the federal government. So it was a secure facility, and it was one of those protected places that had armed guards, and it had. I asked the rumor was that Ross Perot had his own tank that patrolled the area, but I met one of the guys that worked directly for Ross Perot at an event just a couple of months ago, and I asked him about that. I said, "Hey, did Ross Perot really have a tank?" He goes, "No, he didn't have a tank. It was an armored personnel carrier." It's like, oh, okay.
Wow. That
Yeah.
That's crazy, but I don't know if I'm surprised.
Yeah. But as long as I worked over there, we never got a chance to go look for the bunker.
Oh, that's a shame.
Yeah.
Never had an issue that you had to go and inspect.
Yeah.
Well, I know that there are people that are going to be watching this going, why are they talking about Plano for? We can talk about Whitesboro. Let's talk about House of Brews.
Yeah.
First of all, great name.
Hey, thanks.
That's a cool thing. And I'm sure, obviously this goes with the fact that you're a musician. How long have you been?
I have to give credit to my daughter for House of Brews.
Oh, okay.
Because Kaylee, she works there.
Right.
But she just graduated from Whitesboro High.
She
last
played in
year.
the band, right?
Yep. She was the flute soloist for their state championship
Oh, wow.
last year. So
You got to be proud of that.
Oh yeah. It's but we can get back to that.
Sure.
But, when I bought the place, I was looking at renaming it because it used to be called Brewed Octane.
Right.
And it was decorated in like ranch and cowboy stuff, and I'm not a cowboy. Growing up in Oklahoma and I've lived in Texas longer than I live there actually. So, but I've had horses. I can ride horses and all, but I'm just not a ranch cowboy kind of person. Actually, I'm Indian, but I've always loved music. And when I bought the place, I had a list of names that I was considering, and I went to my daughter. I said, "Hey, which one of these do you think would be good?" And she goes, "I like that one." And she pointed at House of Brews. I said, "Cool, we'll do that one."
That's good.
And it's just, it's a play on House of Blues.
Sure.
And
does anybody ever ask you if you sell beer?
yes,
Because of the name?
actually, I have heard when I went to
Yeah.
when I went to Screen Door to get my first sign done, both Ash and Gordon said, "Oh, House of Brews, we're getting a brewery." I was like, "No,
Oh yeah.
no."
I did the same thing. I thought, hey.
I mean, it's not out of the question eventually, but
Sure.
but not right now.
Yeah. So when did y'all open?
May 10th of 22.
Almost 3 years.
Yeah.
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 And of course, I think that, y'all have. How long have y'all been doing breakfast?
Since we opened.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I thought that was added later.
No, what I started. Now we've been serving breakfast, but the menu wasn't what it was now.
It's grown.
It's grown. I've expanded the menu. I've figured out what's worked and what. My kitchen is literally about as big as this desk.
Right.
So I've had to kind of figure out what works within that space, and my storage is limited. So I've tried to make do with what I've had and expand the menu to fit that space and my storage and all that. So
Got 1,200 followers.
oh, right on.
This is news to you. This is great. So y'all are at 413 West Main Street.
Yes, sir.
Suite B. Are these times still right?
Yes, they are. And then the times down on the other little sign are correct as well.
Oh,
I had to add that on later. It's afternoon times. So
there we go.
during the week we reopen. Monday through Friday we're open 7 to noon, and then on the weekdays we reopen in the afternoon from 3:30 to 6. So that's for the after school, after work crowd.
Right.
Not that it's a crowd right now, but we're working on it.
Yeah. How long has this been going on?
That started actually a year. It started January last year.
Okay.
And that was my daughter's idea
That's great.
because she wanted a place to go after school and hang out.
Yeah. So I want to talk to you about this. This concept here is that I've been. There's a long-standing concept, especially in larger towns, with kind of more traditional downtown areas. And the idea is, I don't know if you've heard about it. The idea is that there's a third place. There are two places that people spend their time, at home and at work. And they go back and forth between the two each day. But the idea of having a third place, a place where people spend their time that isn't one of those other two, and it's a communal place, a place where you can go and gather and meet and literally just go to spend time yourself and run into people, having a community there, or to plan to meet people there. And when a city lacks third places, then it's a bedroom community. People will go to work and they come home and they sit on the couch and watch TV for 3 hours.
Don't interact with their community.
Right.
Yeah.
And the more third places that people have in a town, the more options they have, the more of a communal feel that they'll get. When you have a very small town, then you rely on the neighbors. But when you get to where we are kind of now, 5,000 to 15,000, there needs to be that transitional period where there's another place to go where you can spend time with the people in your town. And I think that yours certainly serves as a third place.
When I bought it, that was really my goal for it. Because it was a coffee shop before I bought it. Like I said, it was Brewed Octane, and a gentleman named Connie Chance owned it, Connie and Linda Chance. And they had it for 6 or 7 years prior to that. And I'd become a regular customer there and kind of befriended the owners. And sadly, Linda ended up passing away. She ended up with cancer and passed away. And Connie kept it going for another year or so, and he didn't want to be there without her,
Right.
which, I mean, I can't blame him, you know.
Yeah.
And he approached me one day and he said, "Chris, I know you love coffee and you like being up here, but he goes, I just can't be here without Linda anymore, and I'm either going to close it or sell it." And I went home immediately and talked to my wife. I said, this community needs a place like this.
Yeah.
And whether they know it or not,
Mm-hmm.
you know, but the coffee shop is a place where, just like you said, where people can come meet, where strangers can run into each other
Right.
and then leave friends, you
Yeah.
know? And it was important to me to keep it open. And so I bought it knowing that it was kind of circling the drain. It was going downhill pretty quick. And it's been a challenge getting people to come back and to come to even know it's there. I didn't realize this, but I've had people come in and tell me that they've lived here all their lives and never been on the west side of Union.
Right.
You know, I'm like, really?
Yeah, there's a one thing I've learned is that we were talking earlier before we got started. He asked me how long I'd been here. I've been here since summer of 19.
Yeah.
So 5.5, 6 years. And I assumed that, I've lived in a bigger town all my life. I assumed that when a small town, everyone would know everywhere. But
Yeah.
that is not true. We have people saying, where do I go to fill out paperwork for a permit? City Hall.
Yeah.
Well, where is City
Where's
Hall?
City Hall?
Well, where do I go vote? Where do I pay my electric bill? Have you never been to downtown?
Yeah.
It's bizarre. I don't want to.
And you know what? That's becoming more of a challenge with online everything.
Yeah.
You know, online bill pay, online Amazon books. I mean, I'm as guilty as anybody about using Amazon. But
Everything's delivered to your door.
everything's delivered to your door. There's no reason to need to go out and interact with people. Even, it's getting to where you don't even need to go to the grocery store anymore.
Right.
So with Walmart delivering food and or whoever, whatever's like, I hear we may be getting a new grocery store in Sherman that everybody's real excited about.
Yeah.
I spent like 4 years and about 3.5 years in San Antonio. So I'd learned to appreciate HEB really well. So when I heard that we were getting one in Sherman, I was like, yes.
And you just got one in Plano.
Yeah, we've got one in Plano,
Yep.
and I'll tell you, that is a state. It's weird to say state of the art. Combine that with groceries, but they've got a robotic system in there for picking groceries for delivery and everything. It's amazing.
I almost got kicked out of the HEB.
Did you?
Yeah, we were there like a couple weeks after they opened.
Yeah.
And they had, my wife and I went in just to see it. We'd never been in an HEB before, and went in, and this thing is brand new, and it's and they have yard furniture, outdoor furniture set out, and a whole big display.
Yeah.
And so I thought, this is cool, and I went over and sat down on them like you would at Home
Yeah,
Depot.
sure.
Within 10 seconds, sir,
Oh no.
you can't sit there. I was like, well, what do you mean I can't sit here? Why do you have it out?
Yeah.
Just to look at?
Yeah.
You can't sit there, sir. I was like, okay. Within 10 minutes, my wife was 2 aisles over.
Yeah.
She'll get mad at me for telling the story. And there's like this display of all these different things, and it was a giant chain. It looked like a chain with the links,
Yeah.
And she thought, this is cool. And it was all colorful, pastel looking. She picked it up, and she went to set it back down. And she realized it was made out of chalk. And so she sat it down, and the entire thing broke, fell to the ground. When it hits the ground, it smashes into 1,000 pieces. This thing's like $48. And she's like, what? Who knew it was chalk? And right then, we were like, we're going to get kicked out. And they're looking at us from the... So we just bailed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like the fancy towels in the bathroom.
Yeah,
You don't touch
not for
those.
touching the plastic on the couch. Yeah.
So yeah, my whole goal with buying this coffee shop was to make it a community hub, to make it a place where people could come and meet. And we've done open mic nights for music. Have local. To be honest, I started doing open mic nights because I want to learn how to play guitar better, and I figured there's no better way to learn how to play guitar than to watch other guitarists and to learn from them. So it was kind of self-serving when I started that. But I was blown away at the amount of talent in this community. The number of musicians in this area that are just phenomenal, whether it's playing guitar, keyboards. There was one night we had a family come in that their whole family was a traveling bluegrass band.
Oh, wow.
And the dad was on guitar, wife was on mandolin and vocals. The daughter she started out with guitar, and then she saw the bass. She goes, hey, I can play bass. So she picked up the bass, and they started playing. And I just set my guitar down and started listening. I was like, this is like front row seat on a concert, man. This was fantastic. So, I thought, how am I going to improve this community connectedness, And it's things like that I started with, was the open mic nights. And then just out of the blue, about a year in, a lady approached me and she said, she goes, Chris, I've been contemplating asking you this, and I think it's time. And she goes, I've been trying to get an addiction recovery group started, and I haven't been able to find a place that'll let me do it. And I just felt led that I need to come ask you about it. And at first, honestly, and I'm being completely honest about this. First, I was like, I don't know about that. I don't, because having a 30-year career in the fire department and having dealt with, I'll tell you, I got hired in Plano in 1995, and it was right in the heart of the heroin epidemic. And I have given more Narcan than I can count to high school kids, to young adults, and lost more of the people than I can count. And again, also dealing with, homeless addicts and all that. And I just thought, I don't know if this is going to work. But then the longer I thought about it, she goes, just, no hurry, but I just wanted to ask you. Then she came in the next week, and I said, yeah, I think we're going to do it. I said, let's do it. So I had this little voice going, she came and asked you.
Right.
This is a good thing. This is a good thing. And she said, these are all people just trying to improve their lives. They're trying to get better. And I went, that's, let's do this. So we've been meeting and it was weird for me because, I've never had substance abuse problems. I'll have a drink every now and then. I've had I'll have a cigar every now and then, but it's not like a consistent use thing. It's not not like that. But so I didn't really know what I'd have to contribute to it other than the place.
Sure.
And I thought, well, that's my contribution, is the place to do it. And they've been meeting there every Monday night for a year and a half or so, maybe over, a little over.
I didn't know anything about this.
Yeah. And the people that have, the lives that I have watched change through this program has been worth every penny that I've spent on the shop. The risk that I took taking over the shop is far outweighed, or I guess the benefit of it has been paid for with just this meeting. I'll give you an example. I just talked to him this morning. The first night we met, I met a guy that had spent 15 years in the state penitentiary. He was there for meth and other things. He was a pretty bad dude for a big guy. He's like 6'2". I think he said when he got out of prison he was 370 pounds or so. Wow. And he was one of the first ones in the class. I'm like, oh boy, here we go.
This goes south.
I know. I said weird.
Right.
He said when he was there, they would do anything to get out of their cell. And one day he was in the cell, and they said, "Hey, you want to go to chapel?" And he goes, "Yeah, sure." So he said he was in line waiting to get to chapel, and the preacher comes up and taps him on the shoulder. "Hey, son, you want to get baptized today?" And he's like, I guess, sure, whatever. If it keeps me out of my cell longer,
Sure.
And he said he went up there and he got baptized and he really didn't know what it meant. And he called his I think it was his father-in-law or stepdad, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And he goes, Dad, I got baptized today. And he said, are you serious? And he said, here, you need to read this and this and this and this. And he found out, and then he completely changed his life around. And he came in this morning. I don't know that the weight loss had anything to do with it, but he's lost. He said he's lost 150 pounds, and he's completely sober, and he has gainful employment, and now he's wanting to start a prison ministry.
Oh, wow.
So, and he is the most gentle guy you could ever meet.
So you're affecting the community in ways you never even expected to.
Yeah. I had no idea.
Now, is this something that you've made public? This meeting there?
Yeah. I mean, there's a flyer by the front door. I've got a little bulletin board with cards and stuff on there, and there's a flyer, and it's not affiliated with a church,
right?
But there's a lot of church members. It's not affiliated with like AA or some of the it's what's it called? Overcomers, I think, is the name of the group.
Okay.
But it's a biblically based 12-step program. So they start step 1, actually January is step 1, and then each month they go to the next step. And then, there's homework and stuff, and it's really a neat program.
That's great. Now, how often do they meet?
Every Monday night.
Every Monday night.
Yep.
Wow.
And if I'm not there to open it up for them, then either my daughter or one of my other baristas opens it up for them.
Now, your whole family works there, yeah?
No, just myself and my daughter.
Oh, okay, I didn't realize.
My wife works up at Holiday Pool. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Up on 82?
Yeah.
I didn't know that. How long has she been there?
5 years. 5 years this year, I think.
And Rachel,
Yep.
is that right?
Yep.
Now, you have a son, is that correct?
She's mean.
Is she?
Oh, yeah. You
I
don't want to cross her.
I believe
mean.
that. I believe a lot of wives are. Mine's nice, though.
Yeah.
Of course.
Yeah.
Mine's very nice.
Yeah.
You have a son, yeah?
Yeah, 2.
2. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, the oldest was out in California, living his weird life out there.
Oh. What area?
Well, I guess central, Sacramento, Folsom area.
Yeah.
Not prison.
Right.
That I know of. I haven't talked to him in a while,
Right.
so who knows? But no, he's always been the kind of gamer nerd kind of guy.
Mm-hmm.
That not to disparage
Yeah.
the gamer nerds. The world needs them too.
Sure.
And I are one. Or was one.
What do you play?
I used to play Call of Duty. Like that would have been my addiction. That's what I'd have had to go to group for, would be Call of Duty.
Gotcha.
But before that, so my dad was in the telecom business. He worked for AT&T before the split. Then he worked when AT&T was broken up. Mm-hmm. He started his own telecom business. Ran that until, and my mom worked for Southwestern Bell.
Okay.
It's funny that my mom was a telephone lineman, so she would.
What?
I tell people my mom worked the pole for a living.
Oh yeah.
But it was the telephone pole.
Right.
But you didn't mess with her because she was tough, right?
Oh yeah.
So anyway, she ended up working into an inside job, and her office got transferred to San Antonio when Southwestern Bell moved there.
That's why you were there?
And that's why we moved to San Antonio.
Okay.
Because Dad had his own business in Oklahoma City, and he couldn't just leave it.
Right.
So, and I was just in college at the time, so I'm like, I can go with Mom. So I moved down there with her, which is a good thing because that's where I met my wife. Oh, yeah. And I don't know where I was going with that, but
you were talking about you had played Call of Duty. And...
Oh yeah, so Dad, we had the very first Pong. You remember Pong?
Mm-hmm.
We had Pong, and Dad
I'm older than you think.
Okay. Dad always was into the technology thing.
Yeah.
And he was in telecom in the Air National Guard. He was in the communications. So he said that when he was in the Guard, he was in school, and he'd heard the very first mention of the word digital. He didn't even know what digital was until he went to school there, and they're talking about this is the future, Mm-hmm. So he's always been into technology, and when Pong came out, we ended up with that. With the first Atari, we ended up with that. We had a television, then we had the Nintendo, And every time there was an upgrade in a game console, we ended
were
up
there.
with it and we'd play. So
I had an Odyssey. Remember Odyssey?
I do remember. Was that Sega or was it?
No.
No, that was.
It was.
It was its own thing, right?
Yeah, I think it was its own thing.
Yeah.
I remember there were only about 4 games.
Yeah.
One was a haunted house, and I've looked it
Oh,
up.
I remember that. Yeah.
And it was the thing that you had a regular TV and you put a
Yep.
film over the TV and it stuck
Oh,
with
yeah.
static electricity.
Yeah, yeah.
And then there were lights behind it, and so it was like this film that had a haunted house on it.
Okay.
You'd stick it to the TV, and then it would the lights. So if
Yeah.
you took it off, it's just
Yeah.
dot matrix,
Yeah, yeah,
or whatever. It was bizarre how it worked, but
Yeah.
it was 1983 or something.
So yeah, it's funny. I've been playing video games since I was little, and
So you make it sound like you don't ever play anymore.
I don't have time anymore. I mean, I spend 56 hours on average in Plano at the fire station, and then I'm at the shop whenever it's open. If I'm here, I'm there.
Right.
And then there's like I said, the maintenance and stuff on the house, and regular things to do. So yeah, I don't get a chance to play anymore. So.
But you get a chance. You have the opportunity and the time to put up a new wall in your
Yeah, I
in your
did.
building. Yeah. Let me see if I can pull that. Did you post it on the?
Yeah, I think I posted
here?
on there.
Let me see. Let me pull this up so they can see it.
Click on photos.
Let's see here. Oh yeah, that would make sense. It is.
There it is.
Yeah.
Oh, that's the old one. I don't.
Oh, this is
that's not
before?
finished. Yeah, I don't think I may not have a finished post picture on there.
I saw it, and I haven't seen it in person yet. It. Here, I'll go through. Maybe it was on your personal page. We'll see.
Maybe.
So you went with a Pink Floyd theme, yeah?
Yeah.
You said, I think something like, I had a wall, so I figured why
Well,
not make it the wall.
Yeah, I had to build the walls because, like I said, I was limited on storage, and I needed a place to store extra cups and napkins and stuff. So I decided to build a wall in the back room, and I thought, well, why not just build the wall?
Yeah, and so with this, I got to ask you about the who actually created that, who actually drew it, and then also
The wall?
Yeah,
Yeah, it was me.
and then check this out. Can I share this?
Yeah.
This is your personal page. Look at this. So you have a chalkboard,
Yeah.
and was it like monthly?
It's whenever I get the inspiration to do it. It's blank right now because I did the Christmas one, and it was the picture of Santa stepping on the Grinch, kind of ruining the Grinch's Christmas there. There
Yeah.
it is right there on the left.
Is this? Oh yeah, here. Let's pull
Yeah.
this up. These are incredible. And you've done this. You did Mario.
Yeah.
During the summer.
I did Mario.
How long does this take you to do?
It's usually over the course of a couple of days, and I'll start with it, and it never does look right to me.
Right.
So I'll just keep adding to it until I either run out of time or it's time to erase it.
So you're just standing there and looking over at it while you're
Yeah.
working and think I could
Yeah.
do something over
All
there.
yeah, like with I had the idea for the Grinch initially, and I thought, well, what can I do with the Grinch? And then I like the idea of mashups,
Mm-hmm.
So the Muppets and the Thanksgiving. That was the Thanksgiving one.
How big is this? This is like
It's probably 3x4 ish, maybe.
it's pretty big.
It's pretty big.
And this is right when you walk in. Yeah.
Yeah, as
Up
you
against
come in the
wall.
front door, it's on the opposite wall.
It's pretty cool.
So yeah, I get an idea I try and think of whatever holiday's coming up, and just do something themed for it.
Right.
Or like I said with Mario, it was kind of the gamer background. I did a duck hunt one. The Nintendo
yeah.
duck hunt.
Oh, yeah.
Except I think the dog came up, and instead of a duck, he had a cup of coffee in his hand.
I bought I bought my daughter a TV, a old fashioned was a CRT TV, and I bought her a Nintendo.
Yeah.
And a bunch of games because there's a game exchange in Sherman as well as in Gainesville, and they sell them, the old cartridges. And I thought, I don't want there's a lot of games these days. I'm like, this is just ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I was like, I want her to learn this stuff first. So I bought her all 4 or 5 games, and she ended up playing a ton of that stuff. Yeah. But I bought Duck Hunt and Mario. The combo disc that came with it. The combo cartridge that came with it. Yeah. Oh yeah. When you put it back in. but and I had the gun and everything. I bought the gun, but the
Can't
TV
use
is
it on
too
an
new.
LED TV.
Oh,
Yeah,
it
you
drives
have-
me crazy. So I had to go. Bought an old one. I thought this is going to work for sure, and it doesn't work.
Oh,
It's like it's just
no.
too new. I just can't find one.
My daughter, she's into the whole anime stuff, and
Yeah,
there was a expo downtown Dallas called ACON convention, Anime Con convention, and we went down there, and it was almost like a city block set up of all old console games, and that they had a whole section, probably 20 CRTVs with Duck Hunt on it. And I sat there playing Duck Hunt, and my wife and my daughter are like, we're gonna move on. You can I'll catch up.
Yeah. You go ahead. When's the next time I'm going to get to do this?
Yeah,
right?
really. So yeah.
You never know when's the last time in your life you're going to play Duck Hunt.
Yeah, I know.
These are the things that keep you up at night,
Yeah,
right?
that's right. But yeah, that was anyway. That's my oldest son. He's the gamer and kind of living a weird woke life out in California, And then he's 26. My second son's 24. He's in the Navy.
Okay.
He's on USS Roosevelt destroyer out of Rota, Spain. So yeah, he's had an interesting career in the Navy so far. So
how long has he been in?
He's been in, let's see, 4 years.
Yeah.
So yeah,
Now,
3.5.
Do you have any other
Almost 4. Yeah.
Do you have any other military people in your family?
Like I said, my dad was in Air National Guard. His dad, my grandfather, was in the 95th Infantry Division in World War II.
Oh wow.
Yeah, he fought in Metz, France, and up into Germany. And he didn't land on D-Day, but he came in like a few days after D-Day,
right?
And joined up with the 95th. He started out in a tank killer battalion and then moved to 95th Infantry. And he was actually the really interesting thing, or one of the really interesting. He was a really interesting guy, but he had 2 Purple Hearts and a bronze star with an oak leaf. Ooh. And he was a really interesting guy. He was real quiet. He didn't tell any stories or anything. He was an electrician by trade, but my grandma had a kind of This Is Your Life party for him for his 80th birthday before he passed away. Uh-huh. And he had some of the guys from his unit in the Army come and tell stories.
Oh, wow.
And every one of them would say that he deserved a Medal of Honor for what he did. Because my grandma laughed at it. She said that his commander thought that he could see better and hear better and run faster and smell better and all that because he was Indian, right?
Right.
Well, she laughed because she goes, he's blind as a bat without his glasses, But they'd send him out on
patrol. Just blind luck.
Yeah. Well, he would. He went. They were on patrol and they were walking down this particular road and he was out on point. And he saw these 2 embankments on the side of the road, and there were machine gun nests at the top of each one of them. So he turned around and he stopped his patrol, and he handed his rifle to him, and he walked back down the road. And he stuck his hands up, and he starts waving at him. He's like, come on down. And the Germans saw him, and they thought the war was over, and they went down and surrendered to him.
That's all it would take the whole time.
That's all it took. Yeah. So these guys in his unit said he saved the entire unit. If we'd have marched down there, those machine guns would have mowed us all down. But he had the presence of mind to turn around and think of a different way to do things.
That's a Medal of Honor type thing.
It's not killing a
right. It's not Audie Murphy.
Yeah, but he saved his whole battalion or
wow,
platoon or whatever. Yeah. But yeah, he was. He grew up in deep eastern Oklahoma. He was Choctaw, and his mother couldn't afford to feed him, so she dropped him off at Jones Academy, which was Indian boarding school. So it's you hear all the horror stories, and they cut his, and it's true, they cut his hair. He couldn't speak his native tongue. He was punished if he got caught speaking Choctaw to any of the other students. But through that process, he learned English, he learned a trade, and ended up being able to raise his family and he went to war, went to the Army. Met my grandma at Chilocco Indian School, which was the one it's up by Ponca City, Oklahoma.
Okay.
He's Choctaw. My grandma was a Potawatomi in Ponca. And they met because of these boarding schools. And
wow.
yeah, so and had my dad and 6 others. So
wow. So that's a big part of your not ancestors, but your extended family.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, ancestors, I guess.
How much do you know about Indian history in Oklahoma because of this? I mean, is this something you've...
Well, a little bit. I mean, I'm not a historian by any means, but I do know that the Choctaws were relocated to Oklahoma during the Trail of Tears.
Right.
Their original land was around like Mississippi, Alabama area. And actually, Choctaw and Chickasaw were once one tribe, and the story is that they were 2 brothers, Choctaw and Chickasaw, and at one point there was a storm and a river rose and separated the group, the tribe,
right.
And one brother took his group north, and the other went south, and they ended up becoming 2 tribes.
The Indian folklore is just, it's so interesting and so foreign in some respects, you know, so, and yet it tells the story rather well. You know, it kind of fills in a lot of the gaps, a lot of the how did this end up this way?
Well,
what's the origin of this? And it kind of fills in the gaps, even though
it tells you the importance of oral tradition.
Yeah, of course.
You know, it's even the Bible was an oral tradition handed down for generations before it was written down. You know, so every culture has had an oral tradition, and I think I think it's essential to pass those stories down and remember them.
Now, you share a lot of stuff on social media of quotes from ancient philosophers.
Stoics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what's the story there? How'd you get into that?
I don't remember how I got into it initially. I know I was listening to a podcast, and I came across Jordan Peterson.
Sure.
And I ended up buying his book, 12 Rules for Life.
Mm-hmm. So and the lobsters?
Yeah, the lobsters, yeah. Which is fascinating.
Sure.
It's really an interesting... Who would have known that the serotonergic system in the human body goes back longer...
Jordan Peterson would.
Yes, Jordan Peterson would. Is old as lobsters, which go back... That's older than trees.
Yeah.
So, but that led me into... I mean, I've always kind of been interested in philosophy and stuff like that. And then Marcus Aurelius and meditations and I think I got into it really because of my job on the fire department, and it's really helped me to deal with some of the issues that I've had to deal with there.
Right.
You know, instead of looking at things as good or bad, things that have happened, you know, evil or good or right. You know, it's really more of out of necessity. You know, things happen, and you're not in control of when other things happen or even how others act, or you don't have any control over anything except yourself. And the only thing you have control over is your reaction to it.
Sure.
So I had a talk with a cousin the other day, and he was upset about some family drama, and I said, man, where would you be had that not happened? He goes, what do you mean? I said, you can look at it as this was bad or this was good or whatever, but you wouldn't be here had that not happened.
Right.
He goes, well, I hadn't thought about it like that. I said, exactly. So you can worry about it, and you can get mad and upset and everything, but it's not going to change what happened. The only thing you can do is look at what happened and learn from it and try to improve on it. So,
has the study of this, the more you learn about it, the more you read, have you seen a change in your behavior, how you handle situations, or how you take in things, how you process things?
Yeah. It's helped me to process a lot of the I'll call it trauma, you know, from 30 years in the fire department.
Sure.
You know, it's like I tell guys now, I'm like, look, the first thing I tell them is we get very jaded as to what an emergency is. The worst thing to ever happen to someone at that time is the worst thing that's ever happened to them, period.
Yep.
You can't judge them based on your experience of what you see every day.
Yep.
Because we may go to this person who's just smashed their thumb between two weight plates in their home gym, and you know they split their thumb open and it hurts. Well, what they don't understand is that we may have just come from, you know, an apartment complex where a family just lost their 2-month-old baby or 2-year-old baby who just drowned in the pool. You know, it's two totally separate emergencies, and I can't judge you based on your experience.
It's got to be hard, though.
It's difficult.
Yeah.
It is difficult to not go, look, this is not that big a deal.
Yeah.
You know?
Right.
This is not, you split your thumb up. Guess what? You're going to get some stitches. It'll heal up. But I tell guys, we're going to get very jaded as to what an emergency is. You treat every one of them as though it's that person's worst day on the, because you know what? I say our job as firefighters and paramedics and emergency responders, we're chaos management personnel, you know?
Yeah.
So basically when somebody calls 911, it's as a last resort. They have no idea what their life has spun so far out of control that they have no idea what else to do. So we show up, we take their life, we take their little ball of chaos here, and we try and rearrange it into an order of way that they can take it back and proceed, you know, but
that's a great way of putting that.
Well, it's what we do, you know. We can't solve everybody's problems.
Right.
Everybody expects us to, but we can't. We're still human.
You help to bring some order to it. Manage it for them.
Yes, and that's the thing is we hold on to their chaos for a little bit so they can catch their breath, and then we wrap it up in a little pack and just go, okay, here's where you go from here, and then we hand it back to them. Whether it's their house and all of their belongings have just burned down, we go, all right, yeah, this sucks. You know, I get it. This sucks, but it's not the end of the world. Here's what you're going to do. Here's your next steps, and carry on, you know? So that's all we can do. And there are some days where that day is just going to suck, you know? Like I said, you're going to go do CPR on this 2-year-old that just fell in the pool and they just found, and you know that there's no way you're getting that kid back. But you go through the actions and you make it look like you're doing, and you're truly doing the best you can.
But you see the outcome.
You see the outcome. You know the outcome because based on everything you're trained to do, you know. But you proceed, and then you get back, and then you make fun of the other guy for the hat that he's got on or something, you know. And
it's got to be
yeah.
There was one of the things.
Sorry, go
or
ahead.
whatever.
Yeah, yeah. Then you make light of the situation because that's how you deal with it.
You're not talking about my hat,
right?
Right?
No.
It's a little older though.
No.
Yeah, I remember growing up, the show MASH was on, and it was such a big. Everybody watched it. And the ending, of course, is a great, the biggest show of all time, most watched. But that's kind of the thing that the actors figured out, is that the way that they dealt with it is to not make light of it, but to if they lost that aspect of it, if they lost the ability to keep the not a comedy, but the lightheartedness,
the levity,
that's the only way they dealt with the tragedy.
Yeah.
And that's one of the things probably the thing that made that show just so incredible.
I'll tell you some of the darkest jokes I to the station after a call, but we joke around. We're like, if there was a microphone in this engine, we'd all be fired.
Yeah,
you know.
But
it's that dark humor that you use to get past the stress of that situation. So, my other grandfather, my mom's dad. He was Oklahoma City Fire Department. So I grew up going to his fire station, and that's what got me interested in it. And when I was in college, I started as a criminal justice major, and I'm like,
oh wow,
I don't want to be a cop. Why not? Nothing against the cops out there.
Sure.
But, hey, there's what they say that all cops and firemen have in common? They all want to be firemen. So anyway, I was in college and I was kind of spiraling around, and he goes, "Hey, Oklahoma City Fire Department's hiring. Why don't you go try it out?" It's like, "Oh yeah, okay." So I went down there and took it, and when I got down to their headquarters and filled out the application, I saw like all the pride and the ownership of the job, and then I was like, "Oh, there's more to this." And then the more I got into it, I was like, "Oh, this is what I want to do." I've always been about helping people, and I'm a very people person,
Right.
and obviously I bought a coffee shop,
Yeah.
but
Not a lot of introverts buying coffee
right,
shops.
right. So yeah, once I got my feet wet in the world, I'm like, "Oh, there's something there."
That seems to be the thing, like a recurring theme for people that I know who are firemen. Who it's like they think, "Oh, that'd be cool,"
Yeah.
and they get into it,
Yeah.
and then it's like this deeper understanding, and it's like this. Oh, this is what I'm supposed to do.
It's a whole culture and a calling, and you can tell the people who are there because of a calling and the people who are there because it's a job. There are a few that they were looking for a job and they found that one, right?
Yeah.
But they're usually the ones that don't make a career out of it,
I
or
can
if they
see that.
do, they end up being real miserable. But there's those people who feel called to it, and they realize that that's their reason, that's their purpose.
I asked you earlier, how much longer will you be a fireman before you retire? Now let me ask you a different question. How much longer do you want to be a fireman?
It's like I said earlier, 30 years is a long time to do anything.
Does it depend on the day?
It depends on the day. Yeah, my goal is to at least get to June, and that'll be my 30 years.
Yeah.
And then, sorry.
That's your minimum.
That's my minimum. And from there, it's day to day.
Gotcha.
My knees aren't as young as they used to be, and to be fair, my job now, I'm not on the fire engine anymore. I drive our battalion chief.
Sure.
So
The squad.
no, our squad's something different.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But I'm part of the command team now. So when we show up to a fire,
What's your title?
driver engineer technically.
Okay.
The side title is incident command engineer.
Okay.
So I'm essentially our accountability officer. So when we get to a fire, I look at the computer, see who all is dispatched, who as they check out on scene, I make note of them. I have a whole incident command board, and I make note of all of the apparatus, all the units that are on scene. And every time they get an assignment, I keep track of where they're at, and make sure. And how long they've been doing what they're doing, and make sure that we know where everybody is. All of our people, all of our firefighters are accounted for. So we have benchmarks that we reach, and at each one of these benchmarks, it triggers what we call a personal accountability report. So we make an announcement over the radio. It's time for a PAR, and then we get a check off on every person there. So we start with, say engine one, do you have PAR? Yeah, we have PAR on 4 people. Or truck 4, do you have PAR? Yeah, truck 4 has PAR. We have 2 on the roof and 2 on search. And the whole process is accounted for that way, so that if something catastrophic does happen, we know where everyone was and what their assignment was and how long they had been there.
wow.
And that way
That's a
we
big
know.
responsibility.
Oh yeah, and then say something does happen. My first job is to initiate what we call our RIT team, or our rapid intervention team. So we always have at least one crew on the outside of the structure that's all geared up and ready to go should something happen to us. So if there's a collapse and it's called Mayday, 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 we have a lost firefighter or injured firefighter, whatever, then my job is to start a new one and start with the rescue effort and coordinate the rescue effort.
Oh, wow. That's a ton to handle.
Yeah.
I can see why it'd be day to day.
Yeah. Yeah.
But is it the kind of position where you think, who else is going to do this if I'm not doing it?
Yeah, because there's 6 of us, so we have 2 battalions, 3 shifts, and there's 1 driver for each battalion.
Gotcha.
And 1 for each shift. So there's 6 of us that do it, and then we have a backup. But it's not the glamorous. It's not the hero.
Yeah.
It's not the pulling the baby off the fourth floor apartment building through the ladder, and it's not that. But it is something that's absolutely necessary to the operation, and if something does go wrong, then we at least know where to start and get our guys back.
That's a cool job. It's a cool job.
I enjoy it. I really do, and my back appreciates it. My knees appreciate it because I'm not climbing up and down ladders. I'm not dragging fire hose anymore. But it's like the joke's always, "Hey, this is a young man's job," and I am not young anymore.
Now, I think everybody in town knows you're a musician. Yeah,
I try. Yeah.
What all do you play, and how long have you been playing?
Well, I started with trombone back in middle school. Yeah.
Okay.
In fact, the trombone hanging on the coffee shop wall is my trombone
that's great.
from when I was a kid, which was passed down to me from my dad's sister, and she was trombone. She played trombone in high school and played for University of Oklahoma. So, so that trombone's been around the block a few times, but I can still blow a note on it, but I wouldn't, try and actually play a song or anything. But then in high school, because I could already read bass clef, I picked up bass guitar and I played in a little garage band that the other guys decided that they wanted a recording contract before we even had a song,
right?
Because we were so good.
Yeah.
And it fell apart almost instantly.
What kind of music were you playing?
Rock and roll, just like Ozzy and AC/DC and stuff. But and then when I started college, kind of dropped it for a while, and then I still had my bass, and I had an old Fender Bullet bass and a Marshall stack, and I wish I'd never sold that Marshall. By the way.
Yeah, half stack.
Half stack.
It's
a
little more than you need.
It was way more than I needed, and that's why it was taking up space.
That was the thing back in the days.
I know, man.
Everybody, especially guitarists, they had to have the half stack, and it's on one, because that's way loud. Well, you're not playing anywhere. You got to take that to the gig.
Yeah,
it's ridiculous.
So, I mean, I could have done with one of the little Fender practice amps, but I ended up carrying that bass around with me from Moore to. I say Norman because our address was Norman. We lived out east of town, kind of Indian Hills, Sooner Road area. But I carried that thing down to San Antonio with me, and then I carried it back to Plano when I got hired in Plano. Didn't even play it, and finally
you can't get rid of it.
I couldn't. And then we had a baby, and we needed some cash, and I was like, I guess it's time to get rid of it. So I sold it.
Do you regret it?
Yeah. Yep, sure do. I wish I had never gotten rid of that thing, but I did.
How good were you on bass? How good are you on bass?
I'm not that. I mean, I can just keep the beat.
Okay.
I'm not. I was never real. I don't know, rhythmically inclined. But if I had a good drummer that could keep me, I could match up with the drummer and just kind of keep in the pocket,
Okay. What about guitar?
Guitar is actually fairly recent development, or endeavor, I should say. I actually played ukulele before guitar.
Oh, wow.
So with the fire department, back when I got hired in 95, in 96, they sent me to a public education conference in Tulsa, Oklahoma. And Tulsa Fire Department was doing something I'd never seen before. They had a group of guys that were dressing as clowns and going to the schools and
we got to talk
teaching.
about this.
Yeah, and they were teaching about fire safety to these kids.
Yeah,
and I thought, man, that is genius. Why is Plano as on the cutting edge of everything that, I mean, we're in the books on how to do things, right?
Oh, yeah.
Why are we not doing this? So it just so happened that I was working part-time when I was working. We were living in Plano, and on my days off from the fire station, I got a job at a magic and costume shop right in downtown Plano. It's called Queen of Hearts.
Okay.
And we just happened to have all the stuff to put together a clown outfit. I knew absolutely nothing. But I bought all the stuff, and I dressed up in my first clown costume, and I just walked right into the fire chief's office. And I said, threw my hands up, and I went, "What do you think, Chief?" And the Chief Peterson back then, he had like Coke bottle glasses, like huge glasses, thick glasses. And he looks up at me over his glasses and he goes, "About what?" Like just deadpan. I said, "I want to teach the kids fire safety like this." And he goes, "All right, go to the balloon festival." So I show up at the balloon festival as Snozzle the Clown and just get mobbed.
All right, time out. We got to take a second
Yeah,
to talk about this
ahead.
name.
Yeah.
Schnozzle?
Snozzle. Snozzle.
Why that? Where'd that come from?
Fire Engine 6 at the time in Plano was made by a company called Rescue Tools out of Dallas, and it had a big logo on it that said Snozzle. And there's a firefighting nozzle called a piercing nozzle.
Okay.
And it's about 3 or 4 feet long, and it's probably 1.5 to 2 inches in diameter, and it's got a big spear point on the tip, and it's perforated, and it's designed for aircraft firefighting. Okay. So the fire truck can go up, and it's on a big long boom, and it extends out and punctures the fuselage of the plane, and then just sprays it and fills the thing up with firefighting foam, or water, or whatever. Well, for whatever reason, Plano had one.
Right.
Because all the aircraft that we have in Plano. Yeah. So we do have an airport in Plano, by the way.
Okay.
But it's a little private field.
How many times did you use this thing?
As a piercing nozzle? Right. Never. Okay. But so I picked the name, went to the balloon festival, and just got mobbed. And then I had the other firefighters there kind of make a perimeter for me. And I gave my first stop, drop, and roll class and check your smoke alarm battery it would have been the balloon festival in 1996 in Plano. And from that point, I found out other departments were doing that. McKinney had a great program. Denton had a great program. And I found out that there was a conference, a national conference on clowning for firefighters out in Bullhead City, Arizona, of all places. Where is Bullhead City, Arizona, you might ask? It is right across the river from Laughlin, Nevada, because the geniuses that worked for Phoenix Fire Department that started their clown program realized that they could essentially get paid to go have this conference. They could host this conference, which is right across the river from Laughlin, Nevada, which is where all the casinos are.
Oh, okay.
So they started this conference in Bullhead City, but everybody stayed in Laughlin, and it just worked out to where rooms were like $35 a night.
Oh, okay.
So it was a cheap conference. It didn't cost it cost the department pennies to get out.
They stay in state.
To stay, yeah, they stayed in state.
Right, yeah.
And then it started out with Arizona Fire and Burn, Arizona Fire Burn Educators Association was the group that they formed. Then they started hosting this conference. Well, they were teaching such great things that it caught on, and it started attracting firefighters from around the country, and it became a really tight-knit group of firefighters who had this other job, and that was educating kids about fire safety, fire and life safety.
That's awesome.
Actually, it's life and fire safety, and the acronym spells laughs.
Oh, that's cute.
So yeah, I learned. What was great about this is through the clowning, they made friends with former Ronald McDonald's guys that would perform, and a lot of people don't know this, but the people that played Ronald McDonald, they were professional clown, like super highly trained, which sounds funny, and they are trained to be funny and to do magic, and they were very professional in their appearance and their programs, and they came and had some of those guys come out, and I'm still great friends with a lot of them.
We have a mutual friend who will remain unnamed here that is currently the Ronald McDonald.
Oh, okay.
One of the couple national Ronald McDonalds.
Yeah.
And that is a former major circus clown leader.
Yeah. And that was what I was getting to, is through this, I've made a lot of friends. Oh, yeah. He's such a cool guy. That whole family is great.
We're sworn to secrecy on that one, right?
Okay. Lips are sealed.
Yeah.
But Yeah, I love that guy. He is fantastic.
One of my favorite people in the world.
So talented.
Oh yeah,
He's
can do
incredibly
anything.
talented. And his dad was
I don't know that much about his dad.
he plays ukulele like a wizard, man. It is so funny.
Wow.
That anyway, well, through this organization, I met people like him and other ringling clowns, ringling boss clowns, ringling, professional clowns.
Right.
And we took this, not lipstick, but it may as well have been lipstick and eyeliner clown idea to professional level performances. And at one point we had 7 people involved in our program in Plano. We would have about a 35 to 40 minute presentation twice a day because there were 40. The time when I stopped doing it, we had 48 elementary schools in Plano, and we'd hit every one of them between September and November. We'd hit every school.
That's a lot.
It's a lot. And I figured out
Multiple shows a day?
2 shows a day. We'd get to 1 in the morning as school was starting. We'd set up, we'd do our program, tear down, and then go home. And then this was on our days between our regular shift.
Yeah.
So we'd do our regular shift, clown days, regular shift, clown days, maybe a weekend in there somewhere. We'd get a day off.
Yeah.
And then that was for 2 months.
But that's an incredible program to offer those kids.
It's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. And we were invited multiple times to do the featured show for the conference out in Bullhead City. And we'd trailer up our entire program. We had backdrops, we had sound system, we had instruments, everything, props, furniture, all that stuff. We'd load it up in a trailer and drive it out to Bullhead City, and we would do our show for one of the elementary schools, and all the attendees of the conference would come out and watch.
Oh, that's great.
And the superintendents of the schools came to that conference and gave a keynote speech, and she talked about why what we were doing was so great. She goes, every one of you knows exactly where you were and what you were doing when 9/11 happened. I said, yeah. You ask your parents, they know where they were when Kennedy was shot. Or any number of where you were and what you were doing when you got married. You can remember to a T the day your children were born.
Sure.
These are all emotional events, and you associate what is going on in your immediate environment with those emotions. Yep. It happens both with bad emotions and good emotions. So these kids were learning those essential skills that were going to keep them safe into adulthood, and tying it to a wonderful experience. And I get emotional talking about it just because I was the one that started the program, and we figured it up between the children that we've taught over the last 30 years and say their immediate family members. It's been close to 1 million people that we've delivered the message to.
1 million kids.
Yeah. Yeah, not just kids, but if you average, we figured out it would be about, our show would reach usually 300 to 400 kids per school.
Sure.
Every time. Well, then you figure they're going to go home and they're going to tell their parents.
Oh yeah.
And then they're going to tell their brother and sister, or those immediate to them.
So
we average 2.5 people per student.
Okay.
That the message would somehow get to.
And the staff that's there.
And the staff and the staff's families. I can't tell you the number of times we were out at lunch. At first, the ruling, like, it's funny, there's clown rules, right? There's a hierarchy of clowning, and there are clown rules. Well, one of those clown rules when I first got into it was you never let the kids see you eating or drinking or anything, And at one point I'm like, wait, they know we're people.
Yeah.
So
you're not a mythical
why not,
creature.
Right. We're not some mythical creature. Although they do kind of confuse reality and the fantasy a little bit, especially when they come up and they think you can't be hurt and they stomp on your feet and punch you in the gut. But I thought, we're going to eat anyway, and I'm tired of taking my makeup off between shows. Let's just go to lunch and see what happens. We were at the Blue Goose in Plano one day for lunch because they'd give us half off. Thanks, Blue Goose.
This show is sponsored by Blue Goose of Plano.
But we were there, and the manager of the store comes up to us, and he goes, you guys are with Plano? I said, yes, sir. He goes, man, I got a bone to pick with you. I'm like, oh no, what do we do? What do we say? Something went wrong. I said, yes, sir. What happened? He goes, man, my daughter goes to so-and-so elementary school. I said, yeah, we were just there last week. He goes, yeah, I know you were. She got home and she would not shut up until we changed every battery and every smoke alarm in our house. I'm like, yes, that is a win. So, and then we went to lunch again. We were at Five Guys on Preston, and we walked in, and the lady behind the counter just, her eyes lit up, and she goes, I know you. I went, you do? She goes, yeah, you came to my school. I was like, really? What did we talk about? She goes, you talked about how to change the batteries or a smoke alarm. You talked about stop, drop, and roll, how to get it. And she just started naming everything we talked about.
Fantastic.
And I was like, that is absolute proof that what we're doing works. You know, and
she's an adult now and remembers
you. She was probably 22, 23.
Oh, man.
And then the cherry on top, a few years ago, we had a firefighter get hired. And she comes up to me and she goes, hey, can I be part of your clown program? I said, yeah. I mean, well, why? What do you want to do? She goes, well, I just think it's great what y'all are doing. I said, yeah, you can come see what we're doing. She goes, no, I've already seen you. I said, what do you mean? She goes, you came to my elementary school. I was like, oh, man. Okay.
Yeah, that's something.
Game on.
That's something that's a huge part of your job then.
Yeah.
Over the years, you've been doing this for that long and that made that much of an impact. That's fantastic. And you've met a lot of people in the clowning world.
Yeah.
Outside of the
made
fire
friends
safety.
with your guys here. You know, they had a clown program for, I don't know if they're still doing it or not, but Brandon and Jimmy and
Rustin,
yeah. Shoot, Rustin. I used to coach Rustin when he was a soccer player when he was little. Yeah,
that's great.
He's the same age as one of my kids, so
that's fantastic.
It's Josh, which is the one in the Navy. I didn't know if I mentioned him.
We got to talk about music before you go today.
Let's do. Yeah,
I want to hear your favorite bands. You're a big Van Halen fan, right?
Oh, I love Van Halen.
Is that your favorite band?
Yeah, that was my favorite band growing up. You know, when I first saw Eddie Van Halen, I was like, this guy's out of this world. Mm-hmm. Well, let me back up a little before that. So my parents, I wouldn't say they were old hippies, but they were kind of that way, kind of lefty type people, but it was funny because, you know, a lot of kids, Saturday mornings was cartoon morning, right? Yeah. You'd come down and watch Saturday. Before the internet, you had to wait until Saturday morning to watch cartoons, right? So we, instead of coming down and watching cartoons on Saturday mornings, we lived in a 2-story A-frame house. I'd come downstairs and we had a stereo in the house with big tower speakers and the whole entertainment system thing, you know, and glass door, and my parents had a wooden crate full of vinyl, you know. And I'd come downstairs and there was Led Zeppelin, Santana, Joe Cocker. And my parents, they saw Led Zeppelin twice. They saw Jimi Hendrix. Wow. They saw, you know, they've told me about all these people. They saw Santana. They saw Joe Cocker when the Mad Dogs and Englishmen came out. You know, and they're still big music fans. They went and saw Bob Dylan up at WinStar.
Oh. Bob Dylan's playing WinStar?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Well.
The times they are
changing. That's true. So they were a big musical influence on me, and obviously with the music, you know, I played my aunt's trombone in high school, so music was in the family. So I had those old 60s, 70s rock and roll influences, right? And then
which are great roots to start with.
Absolutely, and they don't make it like that anymore. Very few do. There are a few bands out there that are putting out some good stuff, but I haven't found many of them yet. But then being in Oklahoma, obviously Okie from Muskogee, and you know, got into the country and western thing. You know, we had the Diamond Ballroom right there in Moore, Oklahoma. So there's two-stepping, and my mom's sister's husband was in a boot scooting band that would play Diamond Ballroom every now and then. We'd go up there and had to learn to two-step and wear the boots and everything, and did that. And my brother, I think he rode bulls for a little bit, but not very long.
Right.
But anyway, and then in high school, he's actually I got the bass from my friend in high school who had gotten it for his girlfriend. And she's like, I don't want to play this thing. So he needed the cash and he sold it to me.
Yeah.
And then I picked up bass and played it. And then that's how we got to the clown thing, was through the clown program. I learned, we had a guy that played guitar in our group, and he ended up retiring, and he had a little, it was a Taylor GS Mini. And when he retired, that actually belonged to the clown program. It didn't belong to him, so he left it behind. And I had picked up ukulele because at the conference there was a group that was teaching ukulele. So I picked up ukulele and started playing some songs there, and I'd play along with him when he was playing guitar. Then he retired, and this guitar was just sitting there. I'm like, man, it's a shame for this really nice guitar just to be sitting here gathering dust. I guess I better learn how to play it. So I take that guitar home. I end up bringing it up here to the coffee shop, because I'd been playing ukulele and sitting there and Connie and Linda would suffer through my songs. And I got that guitar and I started going up there, and I actually learned how to play guitar at this coffee shop. And I started out, I think, probably with a G chord, and then eventually got to play a D chord. And then it took me a while, but I eventually got a C.
Oh, okay.
And then I saw a video of it was The Axis of Awesome. I don't know if you've seen this video.
I have not.
It's called the 4-Chord Song by The Axis of Awesome.
Okay.
And they're a comedy music group.
Is this like they play the same 4 chords?
They play the same
songs?
4 chords, and there's 1,000 different pop songs that you can play with the same 4 chords. I'm like, who knew it was this easy? So it's like G, C, A minor, and F.
Yeah.
If you can learn those 4 chords, you can play just about any pop song out there. And I'm like, all right, well, these are the chords I need to learn.
Sure.
So I learned those chords. And then as I'm working on the chords, the people in the shop are like, well, do you know any songs? I'm like, no. Well, learn this song. I'm like, okay, well, how do I do that? So then I find my favorite app of all time, Ultimate Guitar Tabs.
Yeah, okay.
And I just start, and it's cool. They have the words, and then they have the key changes or chord changes.
Auto scroll.
Yeah. You just hit play, you hit scroll, and it. Yep, right down the row. And I'm like, as long as I can play these chords, I can and read the words. I can play the song. So I just started learning song after song, and then
it's a little easier with the internet these days.
It's amazing.
Yeah. I had to learn back in the day when you had to watch the videos
and
see their hands.
Well, there's still a video. There's several videos I watched on YouTube. There's Marty Music is one of them. Andy Guitar. It's funny. It's all like their name and then whatever.
Yeah.
But I'd go look up Marty and go, oh yeah, okay, he's got this, because he's like one of the easiest to watch and learn from. And then I'd learn. I've learned. I have like short, stubby sausage fingers, so I've kind of learned to cheat my way around the fretboard.
You got to.
Yeah.
If you're just playing chords, just to sing along with them, you can cheat all you want.
So I'm not a soloist by any means.
Same with me.
So, but people like Eddie Van Halen and Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan is my all-time favorite. He's the GOAT. This is controversial, but I'm going to say it.
Oh boy.
Stevie Ray Vaughan's version of Voodoo Child is better than Hendrix.
Oh, yeah.
It's time to go.
Okay.
Sorry.
No,
I'm just kidding.
What about Little Wing?
Little Wing, no. I'll tell you, they're both. Well, you see Hendrix's influence across the board, but especially with Stevie. You could see Hendrix's influence on Stevie, and
that's maybe
and the Kings, all the Kings.
It's maybe the most obvious direct influence of any two famous guitar players.
Yeah.
There's everybody says Jeff Beck was great, but
then
you hear Randy Rhoads and you can't hear the Jeff Beck.
I'll tell you who's become one of my favorites is David Gilmour.
Oh yeah. That guy speaks through his solos.
Oh yeah, it's so melodic,
like a human voice.
Yeah.
In fact, one of my favorites.
I was watching his performance at Pompeii, because he went back to Pompeii and did that, and the way he's actually singing the solo with his solo, it's just genius, and I don't know. It's not something that I could ever hope to be, but
Yeah.
I don't really intend to. You know, I enjoy like I can strum my way through Wish You Were Here. You know, but it's just so much fun for me to watch people that's who they are.
Yeah.
I'll tell you. Did you know Clint Strong?
No.
No, he's a local guitarist. The last I heard, he was in a nursing home down in Fort Worth.
Okay.
But he played guitar for Merle Haggard. Merle? Was it Merle? Yeah, for Merle. But he was from Whitesboro.
Oh, okay.
His sister, I think her name's Kathy Strong. No, I'm not sure. My wife worked at the school system, and this is how my wife met the Strongs. But she met Clint when she worked down at the newspaper, because when their mom died, they came down to put in a
Okay.
obituary.
I think I
And
might
she
know the
met
family you're
Clint.
talking about.
Well, he's an amazing jazz guitarist. If you look up YouTube and Clint Strong
okay.
and jazz guitar, he will blow your mind. Well, my wife met him, and she's like, "There's something that guy. It's hard to talk to him." And she goes, "I don't know," because he'll admit he ruined his life with drugs and substance abuse. But I said, well, that may be the issue. And then I saw a video of him, and he was giving a lesson on jazz. And he started talking. He goes, well, let me just show you. And then he started playing. I'm like, he speaks music. He speaks guitar. He doesn't speak English.
Yeah, that's how he communicates.
Yeah, he communicates with his guitar. And I love watching people like that. Mm-hmm. They speak an entirely different language from us. And it's guitar or flute or what have you, whatever, keyboards or whatever.
There's quite a few guys in rock history that seem to fall into that category, and they're usually like these incredible Eric Johnson.
Yeah,
he's not. You watch an interview with him, and it's like this guy's.
You can't hardly watch
Yngwie.
it. Yeah,
Yngwie
yeah,
Malmsteen.
yeah.
There's not a lot going on.
No,
not that they're not bright. It's
right.
Just communication skills.
Yeah, and it's because they don't communicate with their mouths.
Yeah,
they communicate with their fingers on that fretboard.
So let's go through a couple. You give me a thumbs up, thumbs down.
Yeah.
All right. Obviously, like Eddie. Yeah. How about Slash?
I like Slash. I do. Well, I mean, I was in high school when Guns N' Roses hit, so I was a big Guns N' Roses fan.
Kirk Hammett.
I love Metallica. I mean, again, high school.
Yeah.
The Black Album came out when I was in high school.
Well, you saw Sammy with Satriani, is that right?
Yes.
Did you go up there?
Down in Dallas.
Oh, was it in Dallas?
Yeah,
That's
in
right,
Dallas. Yeah. I think. Yeah, he was he with him at Windstar, or was it Vic?
I think it was Vic.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I've seen him. He's
coming
a couple
back
times
in February.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I love Sammy.
One of my favorites.
He's, as far as a musician goes, I mean, I love his music. I always have. The guy's business mind is incredible. It's like everything he touched turns to gold.
The tequila.
Yeah, the tequila, the bar. We went there.
You been there?
Yeah.
Cabo?
Yeah, we went to Cabo in 23, October 23. In fact, we were down there the week of his birthday bash, but I couldn't get tickets.
Oh, yeah, that's sold that way in advance.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
That's like the Willie Nelson thing.
Right.
Yeah. So with Van Halen, then, are you picking Sammy Days? Or this is
again, I'll be controversial. I like the Van Hagar years. I really do. I like them both.
They're just different.
They're different
I've always
bands.
said it's like Van Halen grown up.
Yeah,
it's Van Halen
very much
with Dave.
Yep.
He's a kid. He's just partying, girls. It's just fun. Everything, outlandish behavior.
Yep.
And then at some point you turn 24 and you're like, I met somebody. I want to settle down.
And
then all of a sudden, boom, you got Sammy Hagar.
Yeah, I saw an interview with Dave one time, and he talked about that. He said, "Look, when I was in Van Halen, it was sex, drugs, and rock and roll, man. That's what we were about." Then Sammy came along. It was love and understanding and peace, love, whatever, Yep. And it's just two different bands.
But for the people who were Van Halen fans from the beginning, that were in the right age, it was a perfect transition for
it's
them.
fantastic.
And because of that, we have a lot of people like us.
Yep.
Everybody, when you talk about the greatest bands of all time, people talk about the Beatles, the Stones, and stuff.
Yep.
When you talk about the greatest American bands, they always say Aerosmith. But to me, I'll pick Van Halen.
You
take
I
Van
love
Halen.
Aerosmith. Nothing against Aerosmith. But yeah, Van Halen. When I want to go back and I want to hear some music that takes me back to the day, it's Van Halen. And I play Van Halen all the time. I mean, I don't play Van Halen.
Yeah.
I play
Not a lot of people play Van Halen.
I play it in my earbuds, you know. Although I'm working on Dreams. I saw when I went and saw Sammy, they did an acoustic version of Dreams, and I loved it. It's beautiful. So I've kind of been working on that. But
now you've got a open mic night coming up. What, the 30th?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm gonna try to come to that.
Cool. Yeah.
Am I invited?
Absolutely. Everybody's invited.
Everybody, the whole town.
Everybody until the place fills up and they shut us down. So
that's the thing is, you don't have to play. You can just come and watch.
Yeah, you can come and hang out. And
What
listen.
times it start?
7.
What times do you usually go till?
9-ish.
Do y'all just stay open until it's over?
Yeah, well, since it's on a Thursday night, it's still a school night, so we get some younger kids show up and play. So, you know,
I taught a kid in town bass.
Yeah.
Gave him lessons here, and he ended up. We went to watch one time, and he was in there playing bass.
Oh yeah,
yeah. So with that.
Oh yeah.
Place. Yeah.
Oh, that's right. Who was it? What was his name?
You're gonna catch me now.
That's all right.
Lucas Cleveland.
Yes.
Lucas. Cleveland.
Yes, Lucas.
Yeah.
And you know, there's
It's been a while. He's a good kid.
Yeah, and I love to see the kids showing up. We had a kid last time. His name's Gatlin. I think he plays up at the Cowboy Church up on 377.
Okay.
And that kid's gonna be something. If he sticks at it and keeps playing and singing, his voice will peel the paint off the walls. He's got that high range.
Yeah.
And he can play and sing. It was fun sitting there next to him playing.
I think I'm like you. I grew up learning chords just so I could play songs.
Yeah.
I just wanted to have fun with my friends and impress the girls.
Yeah.
Sit around and play some songs. So
I realized pretty quick that bass didn't impress the girls.
Yeah. Oh no. Not at all. I've been trying to get my wife to learn bass for years, and she's like, no. And then, nobody ever says, oh, the bass player is so cute.
But the other musicians,
Paul McCartney,
the other musicians, when they hear that bass in the pocket and tying everything together, you're like,
it's the most important part.
It sure is.
It's incredible.
Yeah.
I learned to play chords just so I could play songs. Yep. I learned Def Leppard and Poison. That was that era, right?
Yeah.
And just like you talked about how you had the record collection. When I was growing up, my mom had left her longtime job. She was older, and she got a job as the manager at a Goodwill store.
Yeah. And
because of that, we had thousands of records to choose from. You know, everything was broken.
Yeah.
In those days, everybody was getting rid of records.
Yep.
And so, and it was, $1, 50 cents.
Yeah.
And then I would go up to the counter, and she would be like, well, I get 20% off. So I'd walk out, I'd walk in with like $11 and walk out with 50 records.
It's my dream.
So I bought everything you could think of. I had all the Queen albums, the Black Sabbath, all that.
Yep.
But then I ran out of stuff. Like, I already have this, I already have that. And I started buying weird stuff.
Yeah.
Glenn Miller, Montavani, Ferrani and Teicher, the Carpenters. And that really
That's
expanded.
about all you can find now, though.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that really expanded my love of music and my understanding of it, and put a lot of stuff in perspective. And so,
that's what I have to say that really benefited me musically was being in band in high school. Because playing trombone in high school, I started in middle school, and we had a concert band. And then when I got into high school, I tried out for the jazz band, and I got into jazz band, and I ended up playing the trombone solo on California Dreamin' when I was a senior.
Cool.
And that was a fun song to play, And but it really gave me an appreciation for orchestral music, for classical music, for jazz. Love jazz. One of my, they talk about, if you could only choose, 5 albums for the end of the world, right. One of my albums would be Miles Davis. I love Miles Davis, John Coltrane. You
like that second generation of jazz after big band era ended?
I love Glenn Miller. I love big band. I love all of it. I have probably one of the most eclectic music tastes.
That's great.
I go from Beethoven and Bach to Tool. You know,
So will you come back so that we can talk more music?
Yeah,
Because
absolutely.
we could talk for 2 hours about music.
Oh, sure.
I think.
Yeah.
All right, let's go to this. We've got just enough time left. Every person we're having on, we're doing a 5 questions with.
Uh-oh.
I can't guarantee that these are going to make sense.
Okay.
You got 10 seconds to answer. Cool?
Under the gun.
Yeah. MTV announces that they're going back to playing music videos 24/7, and you get to decide what the first video is that they play. What do you pick?
Video killed the radio star.
That's the only right answer.
That's the only right answer.
Congratulations. That's fantastic. That's right. It has to be that, right? Does anybody know? Do you know the second song that they played back in '81?
I don't.
I think it was Pat Benatar. I'm going to look that up.
You know what? I think you're right.
I think it was a Pat Benatar song.
I think you're right. That sounds right. If it's not right, it should be right.
Do you remember the date? What year?
Was it 82?
81?
81.
August 1st.
Okay.
At midnight.
Huh.
Yeah.
I should know that. I just watched a documentary that had something to do with that.
You can go on YouTube and they have the first 2 hours.
Yeah.
And you can just watch the whole thing from the very
One
beginning.
of the podcasts I listen to regularly is called No Agenda, and one of the co-hosts on it is Adam Curry. So
that's awesome. Yeah, a couple of those guys, the original VJs are still doing stuff.
Yeah.
They're on podcasts or radio shows.
Yeah.
All right. If you have, let's see this. You can. Okay, this one's about Whitesboro.
Oh.
Don't say anything controversial. We wouldn't want to be controversial.
Wouldn't want to be on Whitesboro Express or anything.
All right. You have $10 million that you can spend to make any improvement or addition to Whitesboro. How are you using the money?
Oh man!
It can
in
be
10 seconds.
Yeah, it can be 10 seconds to think about it.
Oh, okay. I'll tell you one of the things that I really want to see. I don't know if it would work with the state or not.
Okay.
I want to see a roundabout, and I know that's controversial just saying that word. I want to see a roundabout at Union and 377.
We have to put that discussion into the next time you're here.
Yeah.
Because I think that would be a great conversation to have.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
between you and me. I'll
Yeah.
share some of my ideas with you.
Okay.
I
mean, I've heard the idea of taking 4th Street all the way out, which I'm not opposed to.
Yeah.
And then developing that park more, the Center Street Park more. I think that'd be great.
There's no way TxDOT would ever go for that.
That's what I figured. That's what I figured. But if I had my my
druthers,
my druthers, I think
$10 million.
We went to St. Martin this October, and there's like 2 traffic lights in the whole island. And the island's like 9 miles wide. Yeah. There's only like 2 traffic lights on the whole island. We went through them both, and neither one of them were working. But there are roundabouts everywhere, and everybody knew how they worked. And within the first hour of driving around that island, I had them, and it was fantastic.
Everybody hates roundabouts the first 3 months they're there.
Yep.
Everybody hates it, and you never hear the end of it. And then out of nowhere, you realize, nobody's wrecking anymore.
These work pretty good.
When there is a wreck, it's a minor sideswipe.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But it's a lot of money to put them in.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of people who will swear up and down, no way. Why would I want to slow down a little?
Well, you commie? Why would you want
I want to either go 60 or be sitting at a light.
That's right.
There's no slowing down. All right, let's go. How about if you had to live in a state that you've never lived in before, what's the one you would choose? And what's one you would never live in? No way.
I can answer that one first, and that's California.
Okay. I'd live in California if all the people left.
Oh, sure. The only thing wrong with California is all the Californians.
Yeah. But for those of y'all who are watching who have moved from California, welcome.
Yes.
We're glad you're here.
Hey, you know what? Like I said, my oldest son lives out there.
Yeah.
And it's infected his brain. I'll say that. But we went to visit him last March, and at that time he lived in a little town called Plymouth, which is west of Sacramento and Folsom, kind of out in the Sierra foothills. Mm-hmm. Beautiful, absolutely beautiful, stunning terrain and everything, out kind of the gold mining area. Well, we were driving up through Placerville, and I saw these signs, like political signs, and they said, "Vote yes for Jefferson." I'm like, all right, here I am. You know?
Oh, that's great,
so then I've finally had to stop and ask. I said, hey, what are all these signs that says vote yes for Jefferson?
Just the state?
Yeah,
In the state?
yeah. It's this contingent, this group of conservative people who want to secede from California. It's Northern California and Southern Oregon. They want to secede from those states because the leadership of the states are way too liberal for them. Yeah. They're more conservative, and they don't feel like the representation at the state level is representing their needs. Well, so they're wanting to cede and form their own state called Jefferson.
Nearly all of Eastern California is red.
Oh yeah, it's all farm country.
A lot of the valley.
Yeah,
it's 50-50 up there in some spots. So
yeah,
that's a common thing, and much of Eastern Oregon and some of Eastern Washington as well.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we'll ever see something like that.
As far as a state that I'd live in, that I'd move to, other than Texas, probably Florida.
Yeah, I can see that.
Just because I've, like I said, we went to Cabo a year ago. We just got back from St. Martin. I'm trying to convince my wife that buying a 50-foot sailboat and sailing around the Caribbean is a good thing to do when I retire. So, my parents had a 16-foot Hobie catamaran when I was a kid, and we used to sail in sailboat races and regattas, and we'd go all over Texoma and lakes all around, and we'd race sailboats, and I just fell in love with sailing. But as I grew up, and my parents witnessed a tragedy on Texoma one day during a race. So one of the boats flipped and the crew got tangled up in the rigging and they drowned. So after that race, my mom said, no, we're done, and made my dad sell the boat, and we never had another one. So I still remember sailing and how much I really loved it. And I'm like, I think I kind of want to do that.
Florida's the place for it.
Yeah, yeah.
If aliens came to Earth, and
what makes you say they're not here already?
If aliens came and talked to you directly and said, Chris, we need to understand your generation, and we want you to give us one album that would best represent your era, what would you give them?
Ooh, one album. I don't know why this just came to mind.
Okay.
Pearl Jam 10?
Pearl Jam 10?
Yeah.
What kind of wisdom is Eddie Vedder giving us on
None.
Pearl Jam 10?
None. I don't know. Jeremy kind of
it's a great song. Black.
Yeah, Black is
one of my favorites.
Yeah, Black is fantastic.
I was not a big alternative fan, but Black I've always loved it.
Like I said, my music, I love the grunge era, Soundgarden, Nirvana. I mean, Kurt's hanging on my wall at the shop. A lot of people don't notice this, but all the artwork on the front wall is all made with coffee. But the ones on there's a couple on the side wall, but all the ones on the front wall are all the 27 Club. So you've got Hendrix, Janis, Morrison, Kurt Cobain, Amy Winehouse.
Yeah, gotcha.
I don't know that he's offering any wisdom or anything, but I love that
if
album.
It popped into your mind, there you go.
It just popped in my mind.
That's how this game works, right?
Yeah, yeah.
All right, last question for the day. You can play any instrument perfectly that you've never played before for one day. What instrument do you pick?
Glockenspiel.
Maybe you've played a whole lot of just different instruments and it's limited?
No, I like the way it sounds.
Big Glockenspiel?
No, I just think it's a funny word. And
I don't know
how many people do you know that play the Glockenspiel perfectly?
No one. Zero.
There you go.
Why you don't even have to add the word perfectly to that?
Yeah, at all.
Why is there not a metal band called Glockenspiel?
Oh, that would be a fantastic metal band.
And then one guy in the band actually plays it.
Yeah.
That'd be hilarious.
Yeah, it's like the bagpipes from AC/DC.
Yeah, exactly. Just every once in a while. Yeah. Hey, I appreciate you being here, Chris.
Well, thanks for the invitation. I've enjoyed it.
Please come back. This is I'm sick of this. I could talk to you all day.
Absolutely.
And we are doing a open mic night. Yeah.
Yep.
Open mic night
Yep. Thursday night, the 30th.
Okay.
It's the last Thursday. So our open mic nights we do once a month.
Right.
It's usually I try to make it the last Thursday of the month.
Okay.
Unless it conflicts with my fire department schedule, and then I move it to the last Tuesday of the month.
Okay.
So since I work every third day, I don't ever work a Tuesday and a Thursday. So it'll be either the last Thursday of the month or the last Tuesday of the month.
Okay. So the 30th at 7 o'clock?
7 to 9. Yeah.
Okay. You can come just watch, right?
Absolutely.
Don't have to.
You can. Hey, you know what? I bought a whole bucket full of egg shakers. So we can hand the egg shakers out, and you can just
Something
keep
for
ripping.
everybody.
That's
right.
right. That's right.
All right. Well, we appreciate. Hey, tell me you'll come back.
I will
This is-
absolutely come
this is
back,
great.
man. It's been fun.
All right, guys. Thank you for joining us on this edition of Life in the Borough. Because as we know, life is better
Better.
in the borough. That's right. Thanks for joining us. Bye, y'all.